어디 보자. 없네. I should brush. We should take a toast. We should take a toast. We should take a toast.
Some champagne. I thought we should have a toast.
The next day, my friend...
I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have I thought we should have a toast.
It's private. It's open. What's the big deal?
It makes me sick. I'm going to tell. It makes me sick. It makes me sick. 이것 때문에. It makes me sick.
It makes me sick.
That's private. It's open. What's the big deal?
You sounded a little frazzled. You sounded a little frazzled. You sounded a little frazzled. You sounded a little frazzled.
You sounded a little frazzled. You sounded a little frazzled. You sounded a little frazzled.
Back to Frisco in the morning. When I got your call, you sounded a little frazzled.
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 This is why she... I'm so sorry, girls.
You don't get a chance to talk. We don't get a chance to talk. We don't get a chance to talk.
We don't get a chance to talk.
We didn't get a chance to talk.
We didn't get a chance to talk.
Didn't get a chance to talk at Mary Alice's wake. How are you doing?
How are you? We didn't get a chance to talk each other.
We didn't get a chance to talk each other.
We didn't get a chance to talk each other.
We didn't get a chance to talk each other.
We didn't get a chance to talk each other.
We didn't get a chance to talk each other.
Maisie does love to rule her little kingdom.
You are unhappy with our sex life.
You. 기억이 안 나.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Can't be easily solved.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask. You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask.
Too afraid to ask.
Too afraid to ask. Can be.
Too afraid to ask.
Maisie does love to rule her little kingdom.
You are unhappy with our sex life. You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Can't be easily solved.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Afraid 뭐냐 이게?
Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask.
Maisie does love to rule her little kingdom.
You are unhappy with our sex life. You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Can't be easily solved. Her mornings were spent running errands for her husband.
Hi.
Her evenings were spent washing dishes and helping. Misunderstood. Lonely men.
I thought we should get a toast. I thought we should get a toast.
Some champagne. I thought we should have a toast.
The next day, my
Have a
friend...
toast. I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast.
I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast. I thought we should have a toast.
Mrs. Huber came over and I got distracted. There was a mistake.
Since when do you make mistakes?
What's that supposed
What's
to mean?
that supposed to mean?
I mean,
What's that supposed to mean? What's that supposed to mean?
What's that supposed to mean?
What's that supposed to mean?
What's that supposed to mean?
Maisie does love to rule her little kingdom. You are unhappy with our sex life.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply afraid to ask. You're simply too afraid to ask. You're not getting something from me, but you are afraid to. 아 이게 뭐냐 이게?
You're not getting something from me, but you are afraid to. 아 이게 뭐냐 이게?
But you simply too afraid to ask.
But you simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Can't
Afraid to
easily
ask.
solved.
You're simply too afraid to ask.
You're simply too afraid to ask.
Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask.
Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask. Too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply afraid to. 이게 뭐냐?
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply afraid to. 이게 뭐냐?
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
맞았나? 틀렸나? 뭐지? She'll get through this. She'll get through this.
She'll get through this.
Don't worry about Edie. She's a strong lady.
Absolutely. She'll get through this.
She'll get through this. She'll get through this.
She'll get through this.
Don't worry about Edie. She's a strong lady.
Absolutely. She'll get through this.
She'll get through this.
Well, maybe if it was just my secret. But the way I see it, I keep the secrets of every man who comes to me.
야, 이게 처음에 어떻게 시작하지? I'm surprised to, 이거 쉬운 문장인데.
can't believe you tried to kill me.
Yes, well, I feel badly about that. I told you.
놀랍군이라고 해가지고. 자기가 주었다. 당신을 죽이려고 했다는 게 믿기지 않아. 네. 물론, 네. 또, 네. 왜를 어떻게 해야 되지? 뭐야. 물론? 별로 중요하잖아. 뭐야. I can't believe you tried to kill me. I can't believe you tried to kill me. I can't believe you tried to kill me. I can't believe you tried to kill me.
I can't believe you tried to kill me.
Can't believe you tried to kill me.
Yes, well, I feel badly about that.
I feel badly
I
about
told you.
that.
A few years back, Harold lost his job, and we had to give up our membership at the country club. And one day, one of my
Days after my funeral, Lynette replaced her grief with a much more useful emotion.
This is the fifth message, but you haven't called me back. You still haven't called me back. So this is this is the fifth message, but and you haven't called me back. You still haven't called me back. I will. So this is this is the fifth message, but and you haven't called me back. You still haven't called me back. I will.
Tom, this is my fifth message and you still haven't called me back.
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 And one day, one of my club friends asked why she hadn't seen me around lately. And I told her that we couldn't afford it anymore. She waved it off like it was nothing. But I saw her. Get that look in her eye, that look of pity.
She waved it off like it was nothing. She waved it off like it was nothing.
She waved it off like it was nothing.
And one day, one of my club friends asked why she hadn't seen me around lately. And I told her that we couldn't afford it anymore. She waved it off like it was nothing. But I saw her.
She waved it off.
That look in her eye, that look of pity.
She waved it off like it was nothing.
She waved it off like it was nothing.
Wave it off. Wave it. Wave it up. Wave up. Wave it up. She waved it up like it was nothing. She waved it up like it was nothing. She waved it up like it was nothing.
She waved it up like it was nothing.
Paramedic said she was lucky. She could have been killed.
It was lucky. She could have been killed.
Paramedic said she was lucky. She could have been killed.
Paramedic said she was lucky. She could have been killed.
When they say something, they are being supportive. But when they say nothing, it's because they think that you're so far gone you're never coming back.
Pass. Something must have been going on. Something must have been going on. Something must have been going on. Something must have been going on.
Something must have been going on.
The woman killed herself. Something must have been going on.
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 When they say something, they are being supportive. But when they say nothing, it's because they think that you're so far gone you're never coming back.
Got you.
Anyway, a couple of months later, I saying Paul wants us to go over on Friday. He needs us to go through Mary Alice's closet and help pack up her things. He said he can't.
He said he can't. He said he can't face. He said he can't face doing it by himself. He said he can't face doing it by himself.
He said he can't face doing it by himself.
Can't face doing it by himself. Sure, that's fine.
It's the husband of the woman I was telling you about.
What's telling about?
Not in the context of the conversation.
Hey, people start to looking at me. People start to looking. People start to stare. Could you keep your voice down, please? Your voice, keep your voice down. Keep your voice down, please. Keep your voice down, please. People start to stare. Keep, 뭐지?
We're starting to stare. Can you keep your voice down, please?
Absolutely. Wouldn't want them to think we're not happy.
얘는 왜 캔을 썼을까? 캔을 왜 썼을까? People are starting to stare. Can you keep your voice down, please?
People are starting to stare. Can you keep your voice down, please?
Hey, people are starting to stare. Can you keep your voice down, please?
People are starting to stare. Can you keep your voice down, please?
Hey, people are starting to stare. Can you keep your voice down, please?
Hey, people are starting to stare. Can you keep your voice down, please?
There is always an innocent victim, a deceitful villain, a prosecutor who seeks the truth.
Pass.
Huber, how you doing? Not too well, I'm afraid.
I'm trying to find something to soothe my stomach. I'm trying to find something to soothe my stomach.
I'm trying to find something to soothe my stomach.
Trying to find something to soothe my stomach. That's upset?
I'm trying to find something to soothe my stomach.
I'm trying to find something to soothe my stomach.
There is always an innocent victim, a deceitful villain, a prosecutor who seeks the truth, a magistrate who dispenses justice, and a lawyer.
At the Donahue party, everyone was talking mutual funds, and you found a way to mention you slept with half the Yankee outfield.
Telling you it
I'm telling you, it just came up in the context of the conversation. It just came up in the context of the conversation.
It just came up in the context of the conversation.
I just came up in the context of the conversation. I just came up in the context of conversation. I just came up in the context of conversation.
It just came up in the context of the conversation. It just came up in the context of conversation. It just came up in the context of conversation.
up in the context of the conversation.
In the context of the conversation. It just came up in the context of the conversation.
It just came up in the context of the conversation.
I just came up in the context of the conversation. Oh.
It just came up in the context of the conversation. Oh.
This morality play was being produced at the Fairview County Courthouse.
뭐야?
Its themes were trust and betrayal.
갑자기 왜 노란색이지?
So, what's your issue with bail in this case, Miss McCready?
뭐야 이게? 왜 노란색이지? 난 노란색으로 한 적이 없는데.
This morality play was being produced at the Fairview County Courthouse. Its themes were trust and betrayal.
So, what's your issue with bail in this case, Miss McCready?
Miss McCready?
Relationship with her husband was considerably cooler.
I want you to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace. I want you to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
I wanted to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
I want you to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
I wanted to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
To Mason at this thing, I want you to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
I want to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
I wanted to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
I wanted to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
I wanted to casually mention how much I paid.
Its themes were trust and betrayal.
So, what's your issue with bail?
So,
Well, looks like it's gonna be just you and me.
it's going to be잖아. 너랑 나는 남을 을 것 같구나. going to be잖아. So it's gonna be just you and me. So it looks like it's going to be just you and me. So looks like it's going to be just you and me.
So, looks like it's going to be just you and me.
Well, looks like it's gonna be just you and me.
Well, looks like it's going to be just you and me.
Maisie does love to rule her little kingdom. You are unhappy with our sex life.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask. You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask. Too afraid to
You're not
ask.
getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Can't
Too afraid to
easily
ask.
solved.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
뭐야 이게? You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask. 참네.
You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Maisie does love to rule her little kingdom. You are unhappy with our sex life. You're not getting something from me, but you're simply too afraid to ask.
Can't be easily solved.
Oh yeah, that looks really cute, sweetheart.
Thanks. No.
No, it's way too short. People already you're a girl. You don't have to prove it.
It's way too short. People know you're a girl. You don't need to prove it to them.
You don't need to prove it to them. You don't need to prove it to them.
We want bail denied, Your Honor. The defendant's company imported goods manufactured by slave labor. And his business partner, Mr. Tanaka, has already fled the country. And Mr. Solis himself has refused to surrender his passport.
Dog ate your client's passport, Mr. Hartley?
It's been temporarily misplaced, Your Honor, but we maintain that Kisho Tanaka set up and executed the entire operation.
뭐야 이게 갑자기? It's been temporarily misplaced.
And wow, you're not wearing that outfit.
Honey, do you have anything to say to your daughter? Honey, do you have anything to say to your daughter about her skirt?
Honey, do you have anything to say to your daughter about her skirt?
What's wrong with it?
Honey, do you have anything to say to your daughter about her skirt?
Sorry.
Dog ate your client's passport, Mr. Hartley?
It's been temporarily misplaced, Your Honor, but we maintain that Kisho Tanaka set up and executed the entire operation. Mr. Solis is no business partner, but merely a hired contractor. And I'd also like to point out that my client is the sole provider.
Sole provider. Sole provider 하청업체야? I also like to point out that my client is the sole provider. 괜찮긴 하지만 평범해. He just work in his office.
He just work in his office.
He just work into his office without knowing that his staff isn't here.
He just work into his office without knowing that his staff isn't here.
He just walk into his office without notice that his staff isn't here.
He just walk into his office without notice that his staff isn't here.
He just walk into his office without notice that his staff isn't here.
He just walk into his office without notice that his staff isn't here.
Mr. Solis is no business partner, but merely a hired contractor. And I'd also like to point out that my client is the sole provider for his wife and his mother, who is hospitalized in a coma as we speak.
Bring me the passport and Mr. Solis can visit his mother.
이거 짱인데.
And one day, one of my club friends asked why she hadn't seen me around lately. And I told her that we couldn't afford it anymore.
She waved it off like it was nothing but.
She waved it off like it was nothing. I saw her. Get that look in her eye, that look of...
For his wife and his mother, who is hospitalized in a coma as we speak.
Bring me the passport and Mr. Solis can visit his mother. Until then, your client...
We've been dating for 4 months. I think that's too soon to meet a parent.
We've been dating for 4 months. I think that's too soon to meet a parent.
We've been dating for 4 months. I think that's too soon to meet a parent.
We've been dating for 4 months. I think that's too soon to meet a parent.
갑자기 배터리가 없어. I think that's too soon to meet a parent. 아니 뭐야?
We've been dating for 4 months, and I think that's too soon to meet her parents.